Hello and welcome to Couchbase Coding with Matthew Groves. This is a 10+ minute slice of my day as a developer advocate, live every day here on Twitch, YouTube, and Periscope. Check out old episodes, the link at the top of the screen. Email me or tweet me your comments, questions, suggestions. I'd love to hear from you. The music in the waiting room was called Longing for Tumbleweeds by Admiral Bob. Okay, so I'm going to finish up this week on a fun little live stream here. And so get your keyboards ready to type in your disagreements or your agreements or other opinions. I'd love to hear those. So I've been asking Google for questions all week, and they've all started with NoSQL. And so today I'm going to ask another one. NoSQL, how to, and pronounce is on there. So I've already kind of given that away. I've said it out loud, NoSQL. But it got me thinking about different things that are pronounced differently because we usually see them on a screen and read them, and we don't say them out loud very much. So when we do, we discover that maybe we haven't been saying it the correct way, or there's some disagreement about how you actually say it. And so I asked this on Twitter because Sarah asked a question earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, I forget, about this right here. And we'll talk about that if we get to it today. About this this word, this little term in programming, and how do you pronounce it? And she had a poll, and there was a big discussion about that. By the way, her name on Twitter is right here. It's pronounced Saduki. That's the correct pronunciation. That's what I usually say. I usually say Saduki or Sarah when I talk to her. But all this time, I've been saying her last name wrong. I've been saying Dukowitz when I talk about her to other people. It's actually Dukevich. So sorry about that, Sarah. It is Dukevich. I will try to do better from this point on. But this got me thinking. So I asked on Twitter, what are some other words that may be surprising when you say them out loud and pronounce them differently? So I thought we'd go over some of those today. In the spirit of open source, I've created a GitHub repository called How to Pronounce Good that will contain all this information. I've got a few terms here to get us started with. Notice this is under M. Groves on GitHub. This is not on Couchbase. So 99.9% of these words are not the official position of my employer, Couchbase, so don't get mad at them, get mad at me, submit your issues, submit your pull requests. If you change my judgment, however, your pull request is not going to get pulled. It's going to be denied. So this is all my personal opinions, although my opinions are right because I have access to the internet, therefore I am correct. That is my reasoning. So let's go over here. I've got I've got Visual Studio Code open, and let's start with a few I've got here listed already. So this one right here. If I can make the font a little bigger, it might be better here. I don't remember how to do this. Oh, I can zoom in like this. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Okay, well, anyway, hopefully that's big enough. And you can see the preview on the right side of the screen as well. This is ASCII doc. Okay, so this term right here, the letters are SQL. And my judgment is that the way you pronounce this is SQL. And my evidence is that it was originally called SQL in all caps, which stood for something, but that was changed due to copyright dispute. And, of course, the dissent for this is that, well, just say the letters out loud, SQL, letters. And one interesting case might be this database here. If you've ever heard of this before, I can't even spell it right. PostgreSQL is how I usually say that, which I think just sounds better out loud, PostgreSQL. It's based on ingress, so it's Postgres, and then you add the QL to it, so PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL doesn't really sound good to me, so, or PostgreSQL, maybe, but PostgreSQL is how I usually say that. That's the only real dissent I can see there. So once we've established that you pronounce SQL as SQL, then it is NoSQL. And I'll just say C SQL. And the dissent would be also C SQL. I work at a NoSQL database company, and I've never heard anyone say NoSQL out loud. It's always NoSQL. And I've worked booths a lot, and people come up to me and they say, are you a NoSQL database? And I never hear, are you a NoSQL database? So I'm going to go with that. All right, so then this is the first Couchbase specific one. This term right here. This is the query language that you use in Couchbase. It is a SQL compliant query language. And the correct pronunciation for that, this is the official position of Couchbase, by the way, is nickel. That's how you say it, nickel. It stands for non-first normal form query language, but it is very much like SQL. And this is the official Couchbase pronunciation. I will say so there's some dissent from my friend Calvin Allen, who says NyQuil, just because that's the way it sort of looks to him. He's pretty much in the minority of one there. And then another one is NoSQL, and this is by a guy that I've met at conferences and following on Twitter, and he speaks about Couchbase sometimes, but he calls it NoSQL because it's kind of evocative of NoSQL. You have NoSQL. So I can kind of see how he come to that conclusion, but that is not correct, Don. So quit trying to make that happen. Don Schenk is the guy who was the proponent of that. Okay, so far no major controversies. All right, so this one here, JSON, stands for JavaScript Object Notation. My judgment is that this is JSON, and don't really have a lot of evidence for this. I guess I could ask Douglas Crockford what his pronunciation is, and he'll be at the Beer City Code as a keynote speaker, so maybe I could ask him there. But all I really have to go on is that this makes it a little less ambiguous than JSON. But the dissent is JSON, or JSON as in the name. I can't even say it. JSON as in the name is the dissent there. I generally feel like if we're saying JSON or JSON in conversation, they're both pretty good, but sometimes saying JSON can be ambiguous. All right, this is one I've talked about a little bit this week. Memcached or memcached or something else. And so my judgment is that this is memcached. And so the evidence for this is that it is the daemon for memcache. So the D stands for daemon. So it's not part of the word, it's a separate word that's been abbreviated to memcached. The dissent is memcache, so just leave the D off completely and just call it by memcache, or memcached. And I will not be upset if you say memcached, but I'm pretty sure the official way to say it is memcached. I'll know what you mean if you say memcached or memcache. And speaking of that, cache itself, my judgment is that it is cache. I think that's the correct pronunciation, although I've heard other maybe accents. I think this is the correct dictionary pronunciation. I guess you could fact check me on that. Pronunciation. I can't spell pronunciation. For some reason my spell checker tells me that the word's wrong, but it won't give me a alternative. Okay, but I've also heard cache. That may be like a Appalachian thing, cache, or cache. And the cache I definitely disagree with, because I don't think, if this were an accented E, then I would say, yeah, cache, sure, it's maybe a French term or something, but I'm pretty sure it's not accented, so we're not going to say cache. Okay, so that's the ones I've got so far. Let's see what else I have on the list here. Okay, what about PNG? Any thoughts in the chat room on what the correct pronunciation of this is? My judgment is that it is ping. This is how I've always said it. I think I'm not sure what it's actually short for. We could look it up, I suppose. Ping graphic. It's that portable network graphics. So, portable network graphics doesn't really, yeah, so right here, I've seen two pronunciations, PNG or ping. Right, I'm going to go with ping on this one. It's just shorter to say. But the alternative is PNG. All right, what's next? This one. So I'm going to go with URL. And this is because it just, I don't know, sounds better to me. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people say Earl. And that kind of bothers me. And it also kind of reminds me of people who say oil, but with an accent that sounds like Earl. So I'm going to go with URL on that one. Okay, next one is a tough one, but we got to address it. It's that one there. My judgment is that this is GIF with a soft G. And my evidence for this is that the inventors of GIF say choosy developers choose GIF. Of course, the argument against it is that G stands for graphics, which has a hard G. And there are lots of other arguments and reasons for that. My judgment is GIF. My house is a GIF house. So I'm not going to change my opinion on that, but you're welcome to submit a pull request with some additional reasons why you disagree. Okay, what else? All right, here's one. And I was just tweeting with Brendan today about this, and he said he thinks it's pronounced GWID, as in G-W-I-D. And I say no, it is GUID, is the way I say it. I don't know why I say it that way. I can't think of really good evidence to support that. But I don't know. We'll think about that. But the alternatives are GWID, as Brandon said. Some people might say GUID. I think that's a possible pronunciation. What's happening here? Okay, never mind. And what else? GUID? I don't know if GUID is, I don't think GUID. So I think it's GWID, GUID, or GUID, or some people might just say UUID instead, which I don't think is the same thing technically, and I don't think you can say this like UID. I don't know if anyone says UID. Maybe that's another pull request. All right, so then this one gets to Sarah's that she asked in her tweet is this one. And maybe I should make these two separate ones. Okay, and this one I don't think I'm very consistent on, so I'm willing to change my mind on this, but I usually go with char. That's just what it sort of looks like to me on its own. Now I know that it just looks like that. Looks like it. But the dissent is that char is short for character, so therefore it should be care, right? So care, char. Some people also say char, as in char grilled. That one I think is probably the least defensible one because it's, you know, it's not nothing to do with grilling at all, but it does kind of look like char. And then so this one is varchar. So that's mine. It's varchar. So I guess the point of this is char, and var is short. So var looks like var. This is kind of the same reason I have up there for char. But var is short for variable, I believe, like variable character, something like that. So it should be var. So you can have var, var, varchar, 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 all those different combinations there. It is quite a mess. But I think for the most part it's pretty unambiguous what people mean when they say varchar or varchar or varchar, so I don't feel too strongly about that. Okay, this one came up on Twitter yesterday. It is this word right here. And I always learned this in college. This word was used a lot in college. I went to computer science college, and the professors all said tuple. And so this is just what my professor said. And that's why I say it. But I've also heard tuple is another way of saying this. Honestly, I think the official pronunciation is that either is acceptable. So I don't know. I just say tuple. That's what I go with. All right, this one's not really a word. How are we doing on time here? About 5 minutes left, I think. But it's this character right here. And so this is tough because I think it's either bang or not, depending on context. And so my evidence is that my professor, my scheme instructor, I guess, said bang. But in C#, Java, C, C++, it means not. All right, so if just a quick example, if you've never heard of scheme before, scheme programming language, it is a Lisp. It's a dialect of Lisp, and let's see if we can find some examples of some scheme here that show any sort of exclamation points. Okay, yeah. So this is a mutation, and in scheme, it's a functional language. So mutation, I mean, typically it's immutable by default, but sometimes you need mutation. And so to indicate you're mutating, you'd use an exclamation point because this is sort of out of the ordinary. It's exciting, it's noteworthy, and so the professor would say the correct way to say this is not to just yell out the word set, but set bang. So that's how you say it, was set bang. Now, in the context of C# or Java or C or C++, it means not something, not a variable. So I usually say it as, if I'm in C#, I'll say it is not the case that, or it's not true that. That's how I usually say it out loud when I'm paired programming, things like that. Typically, I don't use, so I use that much more often than I say bang. But in some situations, bang might make sense. Ruby World, I think, does a similar thing where you use bang. This one here, it says a number sign, a pound, or hash, depending on context. And it's just it's a multi-purpose symbol. So I think Twitter uses hashtags. The number sign is used by normal people. And pound. Yeah, oh, well, I guess I can also put sharp in here too. Sharp. Pound is I think the official name of the symbol. Musicians and developers may say sharp, as in C#. Musicians. So my daughter would see my I have a green C# shirt, and she's taking piano, and she says, "Hey, that's C#." And other musicians would say, "Hey, you have a musical note on your shirt," but it is C#, the programming language. So let's go with. I think this is multi-purpose symbol. I think I missed a. Yeah, I missed a bar somewhere. So there we go. I don't really have a dissent for either of these. I don't know if anyone has really strong opinions. I would guess if you have a strong opinion, you're probably working in a language like Lisp or Scheme, or you are using hash in a certain language. So multi-purpose on that. All right, what else? This one is next. My judgment is that this is, well, jeez, now I'm thinking about it. I think I usually say reg X, and it just looks like that. But of course, it's short for regular expression. So it should be reg X. I think that's defensible, and but I just usually say reg X, I believe. All right, we already covered that one. So this one here, I usually say bin. And it's just because it looks like that, I guess. My judgment seemed to be it just looks like it, which is not very good. But bin is short for binary, so it should be bine. However, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say bind when they mean bin out loud. And the same goes for, by the way, lib. It just looks like lib, but lib is short for library, so it should be lib. Yeah, but again, I've never heard anyone say lib out loud to me. It's always bin and lib. So delete your bin and lib folders and try again. That sort of thing. Or change to cd/bin/ whatever. So I'm gonna go with that. Let's see. How are we doing on time? One more. Let's do one more. The slashes. So what I'm going to refer to for this is actually this great image drawn by none other than David Neal, Reverend Geek on Twitter, and he drew this little chart to help you remember which one is / and which one is /. So follow him on Twitter, Reverend Geek. So this one goes this way is /. And I've gone back and forth on this. Mostly a matter of confusion, I think. I think these are actually correct. That's my judgment, is going with David Neal. So David Neal says so. And the other one, of course, is /. And this is /. I think the confusion there might be just, if you look, it depends on which part you look at, the top or the bottom. Like in this one, the top is going forward, therefore it's a /. But over here, you could say, well, the bottom part is leaning forward, so it's a /. But I think this is correct. All right, so I've got a bunch more. Just look down the list and read them really fast. CAPTCHA, API, nonce, schmod, spa, Leonard Euler, meme, sudo, SUSE, SUSE, which is I actually learned is pronounced sois, V, Linux, Debian, and GNU. So maybe next time I will go through those, but I'm going to commit these to GitHub right after I end the stream. So just a reminder, we're on GitHub here. If you're interested in any of this stuff, or just want to spend a little bit, kill a little time having some fun with pronunciation, check out github.com/mgrobes/how-to-pronounce-good. And you can send if you want me to render judgment on a word and you're not sure, I'd be happy to settle any debates, be the arbiter of pronunciation. So submit a issue or a pull request, and we'll go with that. All right, so that's it for today. Thanks for having a little fun with me on pronunciation, and I will be back on, well, next week. I'm traveling a lot, so the streaming might be a little spotty. We'll see how it goes. Monday is actually a holiday in the United States, so I may not be able to tweet then. And then I will be traveling to Canada, and I will be traveling to Nashville after that. So it'll be a spotty streaming schedule next week, but just keep an eye on this channel, subscribe to YouTube, follow me on Twitch, on Periscope, all those things, and you'll get notified when I'm streaming. All right, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching.